Neurips 2025 pre-discussion, so we're not there yet. We're going to go actually in a few days. I want to do this series now. This is new. We usually only talk about conferences after the fact, but I think it's useful to also have a sort of a preview, not just for us, but hopefully also for the listeners. For people who are new to this podcast, they're not even on podcast. The purpose is to give people a sense for what it feels like to run a hedge fund. So why do we talk about Neurips here? Well, why do we talk about academic conferences? Because we are, on the one hand, we are invested in robotics companies. We think that robotics as a field is prone for wealth creation. So we would like to invest in that field. But I think more importantly, it's also a guide, hopefully, for people who are in the business, maybe to get some inspiration. This is not investment advice. Please do your own work. I think, like I said, the purpose is to give people a sense for what it feels like to run a hedge fund. And if you are running money, if you have this dream, desire to be a fund manager, or if you are one, maybe you can get some inspiration of how we approach things and learn from it. And if not, then you can send us some nasty comments. That's fine too. But the point here is, again, it's not investment advice. It's just hopefully helpful for people, particularly when going to a conference like Neurips. This is a very, very big conference, over 10,000 people, I think, definitely a lot of people. For anybody who's never been, it's really a zoo. There is all kinds of things are happening. It's a well-organized conference, even given the size, but it's incredibly difficult, I guess, to cut short here. I think it's difficult to get the most value out of it. So you can do two things. You can go there and just play the sort of 20% of what I'm going to do is going to be useful. I don't know which 20%, so let me just do everything I can, spend 5-6 days just drowning myself in information, and then something will pop up. That's one way you can do it as a fund manager. I'm talking now about as a fund manager. So if you're a researcher, if you're an AI person, then you're probably going to just stay in your field. You're going to discuss your papers. You're going to talk to people, colleagues within your field, and that's fine. And I think we want to actually do the same approach. So even though we're not researchers, we also have designed the field that we want to focus on. I think this will be the first advice that we can give people is try to narrow your scope, right? There's so much going on. Any scientific conference is, no matter how narrow the objectives, once you dive in, it starts widening because there's so many different universities, so many different people by nature work on different problems. Not everybody works on the same problem. So what are we focusing on? We're focusing on embodied intelligence and world models. So we're interested in, to say it plainly, humanoid robotics, maybe robotics in general, particularly humanoid robotics, which is robots that are designed to execute human tasks. They don't have to look like humans. They don't have to have 5 fingers, none of that. That's not important. But what's important is they execute human tasks. So for example, they can do surgery, they can do welding, they can do sorting, pick up boxes, they can fix pipelines, they can build stuff on Mars that humans will be building. So the way humans build it, which means that they have to have some sort of embodiment that at least is similar to humans. So that's what we mean. And what we mean with more models is a general, it's a general way to think about how to train these things, right? You train them in the real world. So you can build a robot, a physical robot, and then somehow move through the real world and do stuff. Let's say there's one thing you can do is teleoperation. Another thing is actually you can even put on a suit that has all the sensors and actuators, and then you can move the suit and collect the data, because what you need is a combination of vision and actuators. And this is already a predicate here. So in other words, some people might already say, what about radar? What about acoustics? What about haptics? Yeah, I get it. So you see, the problem is starting to get already pretty nasty here because, well, what kind of sensors are we using? If we build humanoid robots, we should use the exact same sensors like humans have. We have 5 sensors, right? At least, probably more, but let's just stick with the 5, right? We have touch, we have smell, we have we have 5 senses, taste and so forth. Should the humanoid robot have all of these things, right? Vision, of course, and I guess the point here is that right now, where we stand, we're just going to focus on vision. And what that means is we're going to use cameras to see the world and move around. I think one of the additional senses that probably needs to be added here very quickly is haptics, touch. And I've been just recently at a Bay Area robotics conference here at Stanford, where one of the presenters, I forgot who it was, showed this really interesting video where somebody's trying to match a light, to light a fire with matches, and they numbed their fingers, right? And the person wasn't able to do it. So even though she saw everything, so in other words, we need try to stand on one leg and close your eyes. You're not going to be able to do it. Like you need the balance with the muscles and the tendons of the foot is rendered useless if you can't see. So we're working with our senses together, and I think that's definitely, this is the caveat. But let's get back to the conference. So what we're going to do here now is the following. We're going to talk about the kinds of things that we are interested in, and also give some ideas of events we want to attend. Again, this is absolutely not investment advice. There's nothing to invest at Neurips anyway, but it's also not, we're not a call here on what's good or what's bad. We're not a call on which scientist is useful and which isn't, or any of that stuff, please. We're not a scientific podcast. We are meant for a crowd that is interested in the field, but not professionally active in the field, unless you want to call being an investor professionally active, which I wouldn't. In other words, when we read papers, we don't actually go and engineer these things. We don't build them. We don't benchmark ourselves, and we don't publish papers. We just put money at work, and we're measured by the performance of the money, nothing else. We can publish as much as we want. Nobody's going to pay us for that. And we're not interested in not even in views necessarily. If more people want to watch and hear us talk and read our stuff, we're happy. It's a good indicator for us that we're onto something. We have, sometimes our videos have hundreds of views, and sometimes a dozen, and sometimes 5. That's just the nature of the beast here. We use the feedback though very, very carefully, because again, it shows us that there's some interest in certain topics, in maybe less interest in others. So the first workshop that we want to talk about is Embodied World Models for decision making. So this is on December 6th, and it's pretty well stacked with interesting people. I don't want to be a judge here. Whether, I don't know, Sanja Fidler from NVIDIA is worth listening to, or Chelsea Finn or others. That's really not my it's way above my pay grade to I just follow. I know a few people, some personally, some I've just followed over the years, and there's certain people I prefer. Others, it's also a question of taste. Some people are more philosophical. Let's say I'm a big fan of Sergey Levin or Jitendra Malik, 2 Berkeley professors, because they have this, I would say, more grounded view of the world. Sanja Fidler is a researcher at Toronto, and she's also at NVIDIA, definitely more applied. She has to deliver products and services, not just research. So there's different approaches to this field. But I would say, in general, most people that are in these workshops are definitely worth listening to. Let's leave it at that. So what is this workshop about? It's trying to understand model-based reinforcement learning and long horizon planning. It's trying to align simulation and real-world physics for robot learning. It's trying to build interactive scene generation and downstream tasks. What does that mean? That means that you have a video generation model which generates tasks, and those tasks are such that you can, and this is similar to a paper we just discussed, the ENACT paper, Feifei et al., where you're given a scene and actions, and then the video model predicts the video based on the scene that it's given and the actions. So, for example, you're given a scene of an apple, and then the apple is going to be picked up and put in the fridge, and then the video model has to predict that, let's say, a human or a robot picks up that apple, puts it in the fridge, and opens the door and does all these things. And then the inverse would be the other way around. You see the apple, and then you have a sequence of videos. The apple is taken to the fridge, and you have to infer the actions, so the actuators that are necessary to actually get that kind of sequence executed. So that will be the inverse. What else are they going to talk about in this workshop? Video language action models and leveraging the world knowledge encoded in large language models. So we want to leverage what is available in language terms. So this would be the equivalent of you're a jiu-jitsu practitioner and you're actually in the fight, and then the coach is yelling at you, take his arm, move around. So these are language instructions that can be given to an embodied agent to improve its performance, and then application in broader domains such as open world video games and autonomous driving. I think that speaks for itself. I just want to mention here again Elon Musk's recent challenge to the Grok 5 team, which is the next version of Grok, to develop an engine that can play League of Legends from video, and that's kind of the idea here. So why are we interested in this particular workshop? Because again, like I said in my prelude, world models, it's part of our focus in Europe. So we're going to narrow ourselves down. There's enough work. This is a full day workshop with lots of papers and really high level researchers presenting. I have to tell, for people who've never been to a conference like this, you will be overwhelmed very, very quickly. So you need to focus and go deep. You need to go deep. I don't think the other way around, to broaden and just pick up here and there. That's for a non-researcher. Like for somebody like us, we're investors. We're actually there to understand how a technology can be transferred into the real world. I think it's worth being deep. This would be my recommendation. So this is one of the workshops we're gonna attend. Another workshop also on Saturday. I'm going to talk about the Saturday workshops now. Unifying Representations in Neural Models. Now this is a little bit more abstract. It's not directly related to robotics, but it is in a certain way, because what this is leaning towards is a paper we recently discussed, which is the Platonic representation of intelligence. So there seems to be a way to represent intelligence in different ways, functionally the same way. So you can have two models with different weights, but they have functionally the same execution power. And that leads to the question, okay, it seems that certain types of intelligence as defined as the quantifiable part of agents adapting and solving problems in the real world, that type of intelligence can be represented in different ways, but it has a certain Platonic value. It means it does the same thing even though it's represented in a different way, and therefore maybe the representation is, even though it looks different to us, it's the same thing. So I like to compare this maybe to a sand hill, which is made out of lots of little sand particles and stones, and they're maybe very different, but overall they look very similar, and they have different functionality. You can go up and down, you can ski or skate, or so it's kind of something like that. Now I want to attend this workshop, and the timing could actually allow at least one presentation by Rose Yu at 8:30 in the morning. She's going to talk about some of her statistical work with symmetries and physical. When you represent physics, you want to always take into account symmetries. Energy conservation, the laws of thermodynamics, things along those lines can be very helpful in representing the real world. So, for example, or Newton's laws, like if you push something, it pushes back with the same force. You don't need to model all these things. You can just assume that a push here means also a push back. So certain symmetries are being taken. So that's another workshop we would like to attend, or at least take a look. Lastly, also on Saturday, aligning reinforcement learning, experimentalists and theorists. So this is definitely at 1:30 p.m. David Silver from DeepMind. He's the AlphaGo Zero person. I mean, yeah, I've been dying to talk to him for years. So definitely I'm going to try to attend that moderation session. There's also Seo-Hong Park from Berkeley. What makes a reward model a good teacher? An optimization perspective. The question here is, reinforcement learning is in everybody's mouth right now. There's some really very, very important questions to be solved. For example, what is a good reward function? Reward function design is the new programming language. We've heard these phrases before. We can have the best model in the world. If we don't have a proper reward function, it's useless. Like, we need to be able to tell a machine that it's doing better or worse. The same way, by the way, also with biological systems such as humans, we need to be able to evaluate. This workshop will cover a lot of technical things: dynamic programming, temporal difference methods, policy optimization, offline RL, model-based RL, bandits, representation learning in RL, lifelong and non-stationary RL, hierarchical RL, partial observability, I mean, lots of things, deep RL. This is a technical seminar, but I think it's good to also dive a little bit deeper. I'm not going to spend the whole day here, but I mean, reinforcement learning, in my opinion, is the path towards an intelligence from experience, which is, by the way, a panel that Rick Sutton will give on Tuesday. We will not be there for the main conference, so we're not covering that, but I highly recommend that panel. And if you can't attend, at least listen to his oak architecture presentation that he gave. I think he was in Iceland in the summer. So Dick Sutton he's the person to go to when we talk about RL, and he's going to give a keynote. So that's a huge plus, and I think it's also it's actually very interesting that they chose him to give. I think it's the first panel. It's the first keynote in the conference. So to summarize this episode, just for people to be clear what we're talking about here, this is a suggestion of what we are going to do at Neurips. Hopefully, it's a good guideline for people to have a bit of a sense for what there is to do. Of course, you should follow your own interests, but maybe the methodology can be useful for you, even if you're not interested in world models and reinforcement learning. Just narrow it down, find the kinds of places where you might actually learn something that will add directly to the kind of knowledge that you need to have to make your decision. If you're in the money business, how to invest. If you're in the, maybe you're a person that is just trying to figure out what to study or even which direction to go with grad school, this could be an interesting methodology to take advantage of Neurips. Thank you.